All right, the head-to-head that I promised. Nice and cool out. It's about 67 degrees, but the humidity is pretty high today, just to give you a temperature and humidity level to compare these saws with. So that's a 28-inch bar. This is a full chisel, full comp chain. They're sharpened on my grinder. Okay, so that's the G288 by Holzfforma. And this is the G466 by Holzfforma. It also has the full comp, full chisel chain and 28-inch bar. So it should be a good matchup. This one is 85 cc and this was 76 cc. This is a steel clone of the 460, and this is the clone of the Husky 288 XP. So these are both clone saws, so let's see how they do. That one has an 8-tooth sprocket, that one has a 7-tooth sprocket. Let's see how close they are as far as cutting speeds. All right, I'm going to fire each one of these up and get them warmed up, and then we'll start cutting. Flood easy. There we go. I think that 466 needs a little bit more tuning. It floods a little easy, so. But once they're warmed up, they run fine. So I got a variety of stuff here that we can cut through to compare. But I've got it's called a palonia wood. You guys may be familiar with it, you may not. Back in the 90s, this was all the rave and brings big bucks, as Chinese use it as a sacred wood to build furniture, and shipbuilders built cabinets for ships out of it. So I've got a piece up here that's kind of funky, but this is kind of I don't think they call it a hardwood. Some people call it a weed tree. But I'm just going to make some cuts through that because I got to shorten it up, and that's a project for my woodworking. So we'll run the saws just through that. Just kind of show you how they run, how they sound. And then we'll work into some of the harder, larger logs here. This is an old hickory that has been here for some time. It was on the ground. So that's a pretty semi-hard. And then I got a white oak, which is a chestnut oak right here. You see me cut through that a lot. I got a bunch of cookies over there. So we'll kind of start off easy and work our way up And then I have hickory logs just over the hill. We'll go down there, and that'll be a really good test because that's some pretty hard stuff. It's kind of got a lot of sapwood in it and stuff. It's kind of gummy because we just took them down a couple weeks ago, so that definitely drags and pulls the saws down. You see me cutting some of the hickory up on one of my two channels. I kind of switch back and forth between some of the channels. So anyways, let's go ahead and get these fired up, make some cuts to these wood, work our way up, and then we'll go down to what I think is probably the biggest challenge, which is going to be that hickory. And we'll just have to see what happens when we get there. So let's start off, like I said, with this little palonia log. I just need to get it cut up a little bit, warm up the saws. Pretty easy work. That palonia was stinky. It's got a hell of a stink to it till it dries. So both of these saws, briar bush trying to get me. Both of these saws are all stock exhaust, just been tuned a little bit. They're both on about their 4th tank of fuel, so I'd say they're pretty equal, you know, as far as equal as they can be. Equal chain, equal bar length, stock configuration. So now let's move on to a little bit larger and a little bit more dense type of tree, which this is a red hickory that had been standing for about 5 years, and it finally fell over. It was dangerous for me to cut, so I didn't cut it, so let it fall over. So let's cut it up. Let's make a few cuts into that. Let's see. Let's get you a little better straight on view. How's that? Does that work for you? I hope so. Don't have a camera guy. It's just me. Just me. All right, which one should we start first? We're going to start with the husky every time first, and then we'll do the steel clone. Let's grab that 466, see how it does. I have to pause a little bit for the phone volume to adjust when I don't wear the mic. But if I wear the mic, the saws sound funny. So just trying to make it work out so you can hear the saws. That's the most important part, not so much me, but is the saw. So I know I don't have a counter up, but I will, when I edit, I will go back and put the seconds. Or you can have fun and just use your phone, your counter on your phone, and see how fast it goes. I don't know if one of the beep counters for target shooting would work or not, if the saw would trigger the counter. So I don't know, might. So anyway, let's go over here, and the Husky's sitting on that chestnut oak. Let's go get a different view, and we'll do a close-up view of the two saws running this time and see how they do. And then I will check the change for sharpness, and if they've gotten a little bit dull, because I want to keep this as even as possible, I will simply snap my fingers and they'll be sharp, and we'll go down to the hickory. I know the hickory has been a challenge. Like I said, they were just taken down. They have sap in them, so they're a little hard to cut. It gets sap on the bar, you know. So, but it's a good test for the saw. And then after that, we'll do some noodling. Let's noodle up a few logs, because cutting across the grain like that, or with the grain, is always a little tougher on the saw. So that also is another good way to see the power difference. All right, let's start off with the Husky clone from Holzfforma first. So you probably saw it during the cut. And part of it's kind of not fair. You see that big knot down there, and I had to get close because the log wasn't on top of anything. But see that really high compression and double knot down there? It didn't like me pulling back up on it. But you could kind of see, like I could pull up pretty hard with this saw, versus when I pulled up harder on that one. Of course, I'm gonna go resharpen them. But you could tell that one didn't have the torque for me pulling up on it like this one does. So that little bit of CC. But how many times did you try to do what I just did? If that had been a clear log, that probably would have done better. And we're going to go down to a clear log and start over. Because I think they're close, but you know, we'll give it a second try. Now we're down here. This is just the hickory section of one of the bigger trees. It's got a big crotch section in it. I thought about milling it, but hickory is so tough, so this probably act all up on me. But it's a good testing log, so hopefully this is off the ground plenty. Nowhere near the dirt for the people that say it was in the dirt. That's why I had to put the bar in the dirt on the other one. That way they could say I put the bar in the dirt and it made it dull. So anyways, hopefully this will give you a better perspective. It's a nice clean log up off the ground, and it's hickory, so this should be a really good test. So I'm going to let it cut through naturally as it can, and then I'm going to kind of get on it on the second cut, push down a little harder, push the saw right to the limit of stopping the chain. Okay, we're going to start with the Holzfforma Husky clone first, like we did before. And I will probably put the time that each cut does when I go to edit the video. Yeah, once these are warm, I don't even use decompression valve on them. You don't really need it. except for it's not warm anymore. Pretty wood. Alright, if you let it just kind of naturally cut, it does pretty good, but if you get down on it, you know, you can stop any of them, especially with those big dogs. You know, if you pull down on it, that is a very comfortable saw to run. I really like the anti-vibration system that Husky developed for their saws. So I will say that. So now let's get the G466 and cut through this hickory log and see how it does. I'll do one cut, just letting the saw cut fairly comfortably, and then we'll see how that does. And then the next cut, I will get on it, push down on it a little bit to the point of just trying to keep the chain from stopping, but just seeing what the saw can do. I can feel the difference. I guess the time will tell us the difference, and I will tell you my opinion too. Woo! to talk about it a little bit. Take off my glasses. That's why my glasses are always broke. I'm always hitting them on stuff. Interesting. Let me set them up on the tailgate, and I kind of tell you how I feel and a little bit of specs about each saw that kind of play into this with what I've done to one of the saws. So not a major change, but it's something you may consider doing, so I'm going to share it with you. So let's get these saws on the tailgate and we will talk about them. All right, let's do a little talking about the two saws. So if you watch the short video I made announcing that I was going to run this test, you would know that one of the key factors with this saw, which changes everything, because the whole point of the video is to see which one was stronger, but it's basically torque against speed, chain speed. So this saw comes with a 7-tooth sprocket. I bought a set of 8-tooth sprockets that will fit on the steels that I could put on some of my bigger saws, because I wanted to test to see if chain speed versus torque helped me get more done, and if the saws would handle it and be a little more accurate because of the chain speed being up. And I cut a lot of these big cookies like you see, and I treat them for my wood business. So like these two, I wanted them to be as close to thickness as possible. So that's part of why I have these saws. I want good saws that's got good power, that will give me good cuts so I can make my wood products. So the G466 has a 8-tooth sprocket in it now. So that increased the chain speed, but it also dropped the torque down. Is there a whole lot difference? Maybe I'll do a video with that saw and I'll change out the two sprockets. If you're interested in that type of video and you're curious, let me know, drop it in the comments, and I will accommodate you, because that's the whole point of me doing a lot of these, not just the woodwork, is to have fun. So that's that saw. So the G288, which is the Holzfforma clone, is all stock. It has the 7-tooth sprocket on it, and only thing I did with this was to upgrade the caps. I put new caps, fuel and oil cap on it from a 460 Rancher that fit on all the larger saws. It's just a little more convenient for me. I don't have to have a scrunch or anything with me, you know. Even though you kind of have to have one to tighten the bars up, but not always. So that saw, if you look back at I was trying to cut that chestnut oak. My first two cuts with these two, the first single cuts, was pretty even as far as what it seemed like to me. Maybe 2 or 3 seconds different. When it came back to doing the uppercut on it, unfortunately I had gone so far in the wood that this saw had an advantage because I was just above the ground and I wasn't into a branch that I had cut off coming the other way. So when I tried to cut with that one, I think I nipped the dirt a little bit. I tried to go in it and then go up, and I misjudged it. But honestly, the chain was getting dull, and as I went into that log, it got wetter and wetter, whereas the ends, it's been sitting there for weeks. So the first couple cuts were a little drier. As I got further in the log, the log got a little wetter, and that plays a factor into cutting the tree. So especially when it comes to hardwood, you know, like that hickory's been sitting there, and the first two cuts for each saw, I could tell there was a slight difference. It cut a little better, and then the second cuts, you can see they're a little darker, it was a little wetter, and I could definitely tell the difference. I mean, I'm not talking about a ton of difference, but a little difference. So I think that's a good comparison. You can definitely feel more vibration in the steels. I already knew that. All the steels are like that. And this is a steel clone, so it's the same design. All the parts fit from both of them. So, it's the same spring, same everything. Maybe the plastic's a little less quality or whatever, but these saws have come a long, long, long way from when they first started cloning them and building them. I have a first one of that I had for 3 years. And I mean, I run the snot out of it. And cutting big trees, you know, you see we got lots of big poplar trees. We had some projects. I cut down a whole bunch of big poplars with it and everything. Saw had plenty of power to cut a 30 or bigger inch tree down. No problem. I mean, you could do that with a good 60cc or a lower 70cc saw too, if you got a good chain and you know what you're doing. So this saw definitely is a lot more comfortable to operate. So I think right now the next thing we need to do, I basically made all the same cuts. Let the car go by. I basically made all the same cuts with all of them. That one had a little more run time because I had a hard time going through that chestnut oak, and then I ended up just coming down just to get that end cut off. You know, if every video turned out perfect, I guess I'd be a millionaire. I don't know. But I resharpened it. I turned the bar upside down. You can see the discoloration on this bar. That was a new bar, not as many cuts. This saw has been used a little more. I cut some stumps and some other stuff off, so it was really kind of at a disadvantage, honestly. It was at a disadvantage. And, well, it's still, I think, performed pretty darn good. So let's check the fuel. The one thing about this is I can see the fuel level in this one. So let's see what it is. The fuel level, I'd say, is about half a tank. This one, nope, it's all dark. So let me pop the cap on it. It shouldn't get much compression if your vent is working properly. So this one, I don't know. I don't think it's used as much. I don't think it's used as much. I think it's just slightly, this is slightly above half a tank. Now, I don't know the tank sizes in the two of them compared to each other. Usually, whatever saws or whatever I'm running, I put a link to them on Amazon, or I tag them. So if you want to purchase one. The other deal is I usually put the specifications of each saw I get off Google. You can Google it too. Just put in the model and stuff in Google and hit specs, and it will tell you everything you need to know. CC, gas tank size, all that, the history of it. If you ask Google AI, it'll give you everything you need to know. So both running the Holzfforma tough cut bars, so that's pretty equal. This one definitely, I definitely, I mean, like I said, if I had to go out cutting all day, I would probably bring the two of them because they're good power. This one, I think I'd be more comfortable cutting all the limbs and straightening the tree out and getting it down to where it's ready to be bucked up a little bit. But I think this one for your long cuts with the anti-vibration system, I think is going to be more comfortable on a longer day or more steady cutting. I think this is going to be more comfortable for you. So I'm trying to just share all these facts, you know, whether people watch it or not, because if you're thinking about getting one, all these specifications that I'm giving you, I hope is helping you to make your mind up as to which one you might want to get. Now, if you're a steel guy and you have like a 660, a 380, a 440, I'm not sure how far down, maybe a 360. If you have bars for that, all those bars will fit this. It's a large mount. So you can use your bars and change if you wanted different sizes. So sometimes somebody may go with this clone over this clone. Somebody may have a lot of large mount husky bars, and they may choose to go with this saw because they have bars that they can interchange with it. So I think the 28-inch bar on these two saws for the amount of cc's they are is perfect. I think it's just, I think if you got another saw like in the 60s or 70s cc series, you wanted to put like a 24 on those, I think that'd be great along with these. I think putting a 24 on these saws would be like underusing the saws. You know, this is a perfect setup, I think, for these saws. Now, will they run a 32-inch bar? With a skip tooth, yes, because I have run a 32 on this. The bar that you saw in there on my other videos hanging up. That's my Roll-O-Matic 32. It's got a skip tooth, full chisel chain on it. I have run it with this in poplar. I've run it in some red oak, and it will run it, but you can definitely tell. And the only reason I did that was because I was cutting large cookies and I needed a longer bar to go all the way through it. And oftentimes I have issues with my shoulder because it was really screwed up in a bad accident. So I get sore. And yeah, I fumble around sometimes. I'm not like a young chicken. I've been broke up, had so many broken bones and everything. I'm just blessed to be here, and I'm thankful to be here. And well, if you don't like me fumbling, whatever. So, two great saws, I believe. Got me some great cookies now to treat with the Pentacol, and I got a whole log there to keep playing with. So, if you're interested, I'm going to do a little more cutting. I got a few of my hickory ends I need to clean up and cut through. And I'm going to make a couple more cookies out of this log right here. So if you want to see the saws run for a little bit longer, hang out at the end. I'm actually going to run the Husky more because, well, I haven't run the Husky really as much as I've run this saw. And I want to see how it does and enjoy the anti-vibration system on there. So, if you want to hang out, if you don't want to hang out, I do appreciate you coming to the channel. I appreciate you watching my content. If you would please like and subscribe, you know, just like everybody else tells you, it helps the algorithm. We're trying to grow. I'm retired. This is a little extra cash for me. It helps me to buy this stuff. You want to give me a super chat if you're on your phone, that would be fantastic. I would love to see some of those. So let's get to cutting this log up a little bit more with the Husky. All right, let's just do a little cutting. Eventually, I know a lot of people would slab that out and make a slab with a crotch in it, but I actually want to make a giant cookies out of it and cut it this way so it has a double heart. Make elongated tables with a double heart in it. So that's why I kept this one. I am going to let it season more before I start getting into that stuff over there. I can take a couple cookies off that small end just to even it up because that side's longer. But that's my goal. Is some of these, I haven't done it on my woodworking as much, but I really want to get like a cross section for like little tables with two hearts. So that's what I want to do. Man, if it sits a while, it doesn't want to start. weight off the other side, it's gonna flop over. Yeah, we'll do a couple uppercuts, get some sawdust flying. People like that. We'll see what happens. Woo, y'all are really leaning downhill. I'll lower you down. Alright. Sawdust is flying. One more uppercut on it. As I said, it definitely handles torque of cutting up better than the other saw. what I wanted to do. Whew. I never cut cookies like this. Let me show you. So I want to get a bunch of these, probably about 5 inches thick. And then I'll put them on the slab flattening jig after I cut them. Then I'll treat them with the pentacryle. Now that should make some pretty cool tables. What do y'all think? Yep, and you can check me out on Chris Shea, the wood guy. That's the chainsaw a little bit channel, but it's mainly the woodworking and the sawmill. So you can go over there and check that channel out if you haven't. I appreciate it. Bye. Working with some hickory. Man, look at that. So I'm going to try something a little different that I haven't done. It's a double heart. This piece isn't any good here. It's where I was first starting it, and I was doing the video with the two saws sitting over there. You know what video that is. So I'm going to cut cross sections across here, probably about 5 inches, put them on the slab machine, treat them with the pentacryle. I think that'll make some really cool tables. So yeah, I got a nice cross. Actually, I have 2 of these sections that I can make it, and I have a big red oak. I could do the same thing. So y'all can look forward to that process on my Chris Shea, the wood guy channel, which is Out of the Woods with Chris Shea. And then there's some of the hickory rounds I cut. So I just working on the video for the G466 versus the G288. That should be up sometime today after lunch. And well, I hope you enjoy the video, because a lot of people had asked about it. And I got all the details, so make sure you stay to the end, because I go through all the specs. I go through what I've done to each saw and my opinion, for all that matters.